everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Milla Cleghorn.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
And today we're taking a look at Verdant, which is another game from the very popular design group, Flat Out Games, who's had, well, every year they have a hit. Last year it was Cascadia. The year before that was Calico. The year before that was Point Salad. They do other games too, but they seem to have one big hit every year. They went from cats / quilting to wild animals to now greenery, which is a unique theme this year. Not yet seen a game about.
Nothing else like it.
Not at all.
Plants, yay! Although if you do like plants, this game in the back of it tells you all about where these plants are all over the world, which is good because I was hunting for some shopping later on. But never once did they explain what the name of this game means, but that's fine.
Do you know?
Well, I do know now. I looked it up.
Oh, okay. I was like,
You
It's like
mispronounced
lush
it.
green.
Yeah,
It's not so much. It's not so much that the name is verdant. I've heard that word before. But throughout the game, they keep going the verdancy, which I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, of your plants.
so.
And I've never heard anyone use that term in real life.
I
like the verdancy of your plant.
You don't invite that person to your
At
house.
home, I arrange all my plants in levels of verdancy. I should have mentioned that beforehand. Yeah, I definitely.
He has one plant, which is
I have 0 plants.
Don't get caught up in the theme of this game. It's about building a grid of cards in front of you. In fact, here's how it plays.
all right, so here we are almost set up for a 2-player game. The only things that's going to vary depending on player count is the number of pots that are available out here in the pool, as well as anyone after the first player might receive some of these thumbs up tokens. So this is set up for a 2-player game, assuming I'm going to be the first player, so there are no green thumbs available to me to start the game. The last thing that's needed to be done to finish setup here is each player is going to be dealt 1 room and 1 plant card, and you need to go ahead and figure out how you want to orient those, paying attention to your lighting conditions. So for example, let's say that I decide to do it like this. We're ready to play. On your turn, you're always going to select one of the tokens here, as well as either the room or the plant card associated with it in each column. So for example, I could take these 2 here and add them, or I could take these 2 here and add them. Whichever one you don't take, the plant or the room, will get a green thumb token. So for example, if I decide to take this, I would do something like that. Once you decide what to take, you have to place it out here in your tableau. The tableau size is going to be 5 by 3. So again, where you place that, you're trying to decide early on if you want to set that size or build it out a little bit. You're going to want to pay attention to the lighting conditions as you do this. Each of the rooms has the 4 lighting conditions, or up to the 4 lighting conditions in various orientations, as you can see here on the cards. And you will want to also pay attention to what the requirements of the plants. So for example, this lucky bamboo here wants a sunny or partially shaded room. This card here has the partially shaded on the left and the sunny on the top and the right. So ideally I would place it here because then it's meeting that light condition, or here because it's meeting the sunny light condition, depending on what other plants I would have out there. You also have to figure out what to do with the token you have taken. The tokens can go into any of the available rooms in the inner squares here, or you can always store one of them on your card here and to be placed at a later time. After you place your card, you're going to see if you do meet the lighting conditions. If the room or plant that you just placed, after you place either a room or a plant card, you're going to see if the lighting conditions are met for the plant attached. So if I had just placed this here, it has sunny room attached to this lucky bamboo, which wants sunny. So this is going to get 1 verdancy token. We're going to then go ahead and refill the market up here by revealing a new room, pulling a new token from the bag, and play passes to the next person. If on your turn you decide to take the card that has a green thumb on it, so for example, I would again take this same column here, I would take this, my green thumb would go down here to save for another time to use, up to 5 maximum that you can house at any time. Again, I would look at the lighting conditions and perhaps other scoring conditions, place the card, and if the lighting conditions match, add a verdancy token to that plant as well. All right, let's take a look at a game that is a little further along. All right, so let's say on my turn that I decide to take these two items right here. I would place the room and decide to put the room right here. I'm going to hold on to this token for just a minute and talk about it. So place the room, it meets the lighting condition here, it meets the lighting condition here, so both of those are going to get a verdancy token. Now, This is the token, a special token that I've drawn here, these green ones, and they as well can be saved for later use or used immediately for some benefit. Let's say that I decide that I want to hold on to it, but I don't have a space available. However, this orange tile here is a perfect match here, opening up the opportunity to then save that one. On my next turn, perhaps, I decide to take another room tile, and I'm going to take these two. I want to place the room right here. It's not going to meet, oh, I'm sorry, it does meet the lighting conditions here, which is going to add another token here, as well as the sunny up here. It's going to add the token there. This one here, I don't really want to place it here because that's not a great match looking at the colors there. So I'm going to go ahead and use this special token here and hold on to that yellow one. So let's talk about our 3 special tokens here that you can also take, which are green colored as opposed to one of the room colored. Anytime you're going to use the fertilizer here, you can add 3 verdancy to 1 plant. So I could go ahead and decide to put it right here on this chestnut vine, for example. That actually completes this card. And when you complete the verdancy up here, so we have 3, 6, 9 on this card, which is the required verdancy of this plant, you can remove all the verdancy and pot the plant. There are 3 types of pots out here, a 3-point, a 2-point, a 1-point, and then just the generic one. So I should say 3 that score and then just generic pots out here. You want to take the highest value available. That's why this is important during setup, to make sure you have the right pool set up for player count. So I would also obviously take the 3-pointer and go ahead and pot my chestnut vine. Therefore, showing that I have all the required verdancy, so at the end of the game, this will score me 11 points. The same thing happened over here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I would also be able to go ahead and pot that one, taking the very last 3-point pot. So fertilizer is going to allow you to add up to 3 verdancy to 1 plant. When we use the hand trowel here, you can add 1 verdancy to up to 3 plants. So again, I could go here, I could go here, and sure, why not there? So that is going to be your hand trowel. And finally, we have the watering can. The watering can is going to allow you to add a verdancy to any of the plants adjacent to a room. So if I choose this room here, that would not be a good idea because this one is already full verdancy, this one's full verdancy, but I could go ahead and put one here and one here, which actually, maybe that's not so terrible because that completes both of those verdancies, again, allowing me to pot those plants. The other type of special actions you can take are the green thumb actions. All of these actions are going to require 2 green thumbs. So again, you have a max of 5. If I look like this, at any point on your turn, you can spend 2 of them to complete one of the following actions. You can replace the tokens up in the market. You can replace any of the cards up in the market as long as they don't have the green thumb on them. You can break the column rule, meaning you can draft any token with any card. They do not have to be in the same column. Or finally, you can add 1 verdancy to any plant. On my final turn, let's say that I draft this right here. I'll put that one there. And now we can talk about endgame scoring. All right, to calculate your endgame score, first of all, you're going to go through and calculate the points on any potted plants. So this nerve plant here, I did not quite get all the required verdancy, so I'm not going to score that one. But here, this one is potted, so that would be 3 points. That one's not quite done. This is 8 points, 11, and so on until you count all the points for your potted plants. Then, for the ones that you didn't quite make, you're going to go ahead and get 1 point for 2 verdancy on all your plants combined. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would get 3 points for the verdancy. All right, then you can go ahead and turn over all your pots and add up the value of the pointed ones here. So these are all the generic ones. So I would have 3, 6, 7, 8 points for pots. All right, for our room bonuses, we're going to go room by room and look at how many plants next to it of their preferred type. So for example, we have an orange room here with an orange plant here and here. That would be worth 2 points, 1 for each plant. However, this would actually be worth 4 because the item on the card matches the room type. So that would be 2 4 points. If, however, it had looked something like this, that would just be worth 1 2 points. So having the item match the room increases the value of the plants around it. So that would be 2 points. Here, this one doesn't have an item in it at all, so it's just going to be that plant type, which is only 1. So 1 point for this room. This one here, again, has the item matching, and it has 2 plants, 1 on each side. As these 2 do not match, that's again going to be 2 4 points. So you'll go through and score all of your rooms based on the scoring for that 1 point with no item or a mismatch item in it, or 2 points for each room that matches the type if it has the correct item in it. Speaking of those items, there are actually 8 different kinds of items in totals, ranging from dogs to cats to different furniture, lamps, things like that. You're going to count the different number of icons that you have. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all unique, and then look at a chart to see how many points. 5, for example, would score 12 total points. Similarly, we're going to score for unique rooms and unique plant types. There are 5 different room types, and if you have one of each of those, you will score 3 points, and 5 different plant types. If you have one of each of those, you will score 3 points as well. Everyone's going to add up their total, and highest score wins. And that's going to be how you play Verdant. Let's go back up top and see what everyone thinks.
This game, the theme is the art is fantastic.
It's beautiful.
It is.
The art is
absolutely
good. The only
gorgeous.
thing I don't like, and maybe I'm just not a flower guy, is the highest level pots, whatever they are.
Right. The stone pots.
They look like garbage when I put my plants in
It's like
them.
a cement.
It's a cement thing, yeah.
I hate them. Like, it's the highest one. I want the points, but
You wanted it to be like filigree, very fancy
yeah, it
looking
just
thing.
looks like a block I'm sticking under my
Which is funny,
things.
those are my favorite because they're so streamlined and simple. I like them. I think that they're very...
They don't look like a
Right,
flower
I
pot.
They're like a big old cement
no, because
thing.
Yeah.
your focus should be on the flower.
No, my focus is 100% on getting that pot because it's worth 3 points.
No, okay, I meant like in real life.
I don't care about real life. I care about this game.
IRL.
No, because these rooms don't look like real rooms in real life.
Well, there is that.
And that is a little bit of a
valid
thing.
point.
The plant card, so half of the game basically is gorgeous looking.
Right.
Yeah.
The other half is functional, very functional.
Yeah.
They're just not pretty.
I agree. They're also not particularly easy to read. I found the symbols around the sides.
Right.
I need the full sun, half sun, or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I wish those were colored or something. I found
interesting.
it.
Oh.
I had to look. I don't know how else to explain it when I'm putting cards down. This can go here. I don't know. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I didn't
Yeah.
Okay.
love it.
I guess it didn't bother me as much because, as you were saying, you had to look, and that is a big part of this game. It's a big part of Cascadia. It's a big part of Calico. This is
Very
a
clearly the same designers.
head-down
Yes.
multiplayer solitaire game, and you
Yeah,
need to know
very
that
so.
going into any of these games. It's a part of the design aesthetic, clearly, whether it's intentional or not. That's been these puzzle games. I think of them now as a trilogy. I doubt it's going to end as a trilogy with as successful as they've been. But that's something that they have in common, is this idea of you have something in front of you that you are focused on. I could care less what Z or you or Camilla have going on in your boards.
Right.
On their board,
I
right?
don't care if I take that combo you
I
want.
care about the
Right.
yeah and that's where the interaction is maybe taking a card or a tile that you want.
Right,
And
and
you could look and hate draft if you wanted to.
Of course, right.
Yeah.
But then it's also messing your own scoring up. So you're
Yeah.
you're not incentivized to hate draft. But I think the interesting element that this brings is those green thumb tokens. Whereas I do care a little bit about what you take. One, because it's the combo, but two, I really want that card. I hope you take the other combo so I get a green thumb on it. And sometimes maybe there's a little less scoring, but that has 3 green thumbs on it. Yeah, I'm going to take those because I can then
Right.
make this other change. And so I do think that is a neat element to this game outside of the other two.
Yeah.
It's a neat evolution of Cascadia's sort of drafting system, right?
Right.
Now, we've seen it in other games, but it's an obvious drawback because, well, same people. Where you're taking a pair of things. In this one, then they give you a selection of 3, and from the 3 you take a pair. The odd one out gets a little extra, like you were saying. That's interesting. It also is a little samey. And if you've played Cascadia a lot, I feel like you might come into this one and have a little bit of that feeling of, oh, this game's repeating itself, or this company's repeating itself a little bit. How did you guys feel about that?
I felt that very strongly,
Yeah.
actually.
I felt the whole spectrum of it because I went into it, and maybe this is kind of spoiling my end thoughts here, but I went into it loving it because I really like Cascadia. Of what's come out, that's my favorite so far. And I played a lot of it. And so it's like going into it, like gameplay, I was like, oh, this is like Cascadia. I'm really liking it. And then you got to scoring, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is Calico. Like, I think I scored it 3 different times, and I just like, oh, I just ground to a hard
I
stop.
feel like there's too much
I was like,
scoring.
ugh.
Well, yeah, I was actually. We try not to talk amongst ourselves
Yeah.
before reviews, but one thing I did mention to Camilla was that one big difference is that we're going to have to compare these games. We've been doing it. We're going to continue to do it. Calico basically has 3 scoring goals, right? That's the hook of that. Is there's 3 scoring goals that you're working towards. Cascadia has what, five different animals, I
Right.
believe, and then you've also got your land scoring, but that's, I think, incidental. This one felt like there was a lot more you had to account for, and that's just with the base game. You can also add advanced scoring cards
Right.
and have 3 more things you're thinking about. So you're thinking about, how many unique items do I have in my rooms? How many unique this? And do I have the right color tile on top of this room that now makes this worth a double multiplier on my scoring? And, I felt like there was just, you almost couldn't focus on all of it. You had to pick 1 or 2 things to focus on and hope that you did okay on the other stuff. That's the way I felt. Like, I wasn't really like, oh, am I going to get one of each type of room in here, or you know what I mean? I just wasn't doing that in my plays.
One of the problems I thought the game had, where it actually harkens back to Calico in this regard, is that the curve of the game, it's interesting, and as the game progresses to the very end, it's a whole lot less interesting
Yes.
because now I'm just filling in the holes. I got to take what, hopefully this will score me something. I found the last few turns to be like, I'll just do what I can do at this point in time.
Yeah, I don't
Very
think it's
much
as
so.
punishing as Calico. In Calico,
agree.
you are actually killing off potential scoring.
Right.
Like, you've
I
been
agree.
working towards
Yeah.
scoring, and at the end, you're like, all right, I'm just going to detonate this that I've been
Right.
working towards, right?
All or
In
nothing
this
kinda feel.
one, you never were working towards something, but you're right that it is sort of like, well, that's nothing.
Right.
And so the last couple rounds are flat that way.
I think one example of that would be the fact that on these room cards, you can put a tile on them, right? And you're incentivized. You're going to want to put a tile on these room cards. And I was so conditioned to kind of what their designs have been in the past, especially Calico, that for a while I was thinking, I have to put a blue token on my blue room.
Yeah.
You absolutely don't have to. And you can still get scoring for that miscolored token as far as set collection goes. It's just,
Right.
you're incentivized to get, it's better for you, but it's not wasted. And so that's a little different. I felt like it was, if we're going to look at the spectrum, less kind of punishing than Calico.
Yes.
Maybe not as, endorphin hitty as Cascadia can be.
Right.
I think it's in between in terms of puzzle there. That's just,
For me, it's in between for every aspect, actually. I think
Okay.
Cascadia is more thematic. It's a better game. It's more interesting and engaging. I think it plays a wider spectrum of people. I think more gamers will enjoy that with the scoring and the funkiness.
Right.
And non-gamery people can just build cool-looking continent type stuff.
right.
Right. Yeah.
Calico is a mess. And this is so.
I
And, this,
like
and I
Calico.
think this is in between. More abstracted.
Very
good
much more.
scoring, but a lot of it, some of it nonsensical, just for the sake of scoring. So it does lose something from the previous design. But I think the scoring, overwhelming nature of it does alleviate itself after you've played a few times,
Sure.
and if you're methodical. I think the gameplay is fun. It falls apart a little bit at the end, but I really liked it. I had a good time with this one. I've no big problems with it other than it's not as good as their last one. That's not a really good reason to not to hammer this one.
Sure, I'll say that. I'm giving this a 6. And I'll tell you why. Because I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But I like Calico because Calico is very, very crunchy. Cascadia is fine. I like it more than this one, but I don't like as much as Calico. But I get it. It's wide appeal. This one gives the pseudo opinion that it's wide appeal. I'll teach it to folks. I'll be like, here, pick 2 or 3 cards. Oh, I'll match the suns. Also, there's many different ways of scoring at the end of the game. Oh, should I think about those now? Because if you do, that will grind the game to a very boring halt and make it a very thinky, crunchy, long game, and the game doesn't deserve that. I don't feel like this is a point salad, and while I normally like point salads, I don't have time to think about all of them because they're all concentrated on the same card. It's not like do this or do that. It's like do this one thing and put the tile on it, and that tile could be different than other tiles or the same. And then the light, you want it to be the same here. And I enjoyed trying to finish a plant that needed 8 light. That's interesting.
Sure.
But doing that and also trying to get different tiles and also trying to make sure the colors matched, and I just felt that was too much for a simple take 2 things.
Yeah.
Right.
That didn't match to me. I don't know who this is for. This is for gamers probably, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it's for gamers. And that's where I come into the thing. I was looking maybe for a lighter game. I got a heavier one, but I don't think the choices in it warrant the heaviness. It's fine, I'll play it, and I like how it looks mostly, but meh, just a 6 for me.
Yeah.
Well, it's for me. You're asking who it's for. It's for me. In the sense that I like puzzly games that look very nice, that have a little bit of interaction, but not. I'm never going to be messing with your stuff. I may take
Right.
something you want, but when I'm looking for that type of experience, this game I think does it very well. I'm giving it an 8. You know, again, we've been comparing, maybe me mostly, comparing it to the other two games. I'm with you in that I think it falls in between Calico and Cascadia. I think Cascadia is still my favorite of the three. But this isn't too far behind, and I think Calico is great too. My beef, if I have one, I wouldn't even call it a beef, is that it does feel abstract. Like, there's really no theme to speak of here other than the way it looks. And so if you're looking for a thematic game, keep looking, because it's not here. But if you're looking for a good puzzle, I think you can feel pretty comfortable with this one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to come in at a 6.5 on this one. And to me, it comes down to the arc of the game, if you will. This is a game that I very much enjoy, but then the feeling gets worse as you go. And not because of the options, but what I really like about the game is that there's always something you can do for points. You know, whether it is take a specific item, which is going to go to that set collection, maybe you won't get the verdancy out of it or something like that, but it's still going to get you something. So it's not quite as cutthroat as Calico, where it's like, this is a wasted turn or I just bombed my whole board. So it doesn't feel that bad. But it also just leads to this grinding halt of the end of the game. And ultimately, when I'm done with the game, I'm done with the game. Like, you know, I'm like, all right, that's fine. So I went from like enjoying it and like, oh, let me try to optimize this and think about these things and kind of that puzzly nature, to at the end, I'm good. I want to put it on the shelf and not touch it for a while.
We've also, Camille and I reviewed another game this week called Insecta, which has a lot of similar things, and I like that gameplay better.
Yes.
And it does a lot of the same things this one does.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm coming down at an 8 as well. I like it. You're right. Its biggest problem is probably that it is very abstract. It does not make any sense. This alternating rooms and plans thing.
That's how I built my house.
That doesn't make a lick of sense. But to me, this feels like ultimately a Calico that isn't as nasty to me, the player. Doesn't outright hate me. And that's how I feel about Calico.
I think your opinion Calico goes down every year.
It just, again,
It's going to be a 2 by the time.
that one is just too punishing, and there is some nasty, nasty hate drafting, even inconsequentially. So, like, without not inconsequential,
the hate
but
drafting's not in
unintentional.
this one,
Right.
really.
It's really
No,
not.
right. You might take the tile that fits 2 of the 3 scoring opportunities I need, and if you take that, I'm done. Like it's
also a
table
bigger
flipping,
market
you know.
in this game than it is in Calico,
Yeah.
right? And that
It
helps
is, yeah.
alleviate that too.
Yeah, so I think it's a pretty game. I think you're right. It is for it has a little bit of an identity crisis. I think it's sort of this idea of gamers start insulating themselves with other gamers and forget when they make something like it's a light, pretty, game with beautiful plans and relaxing, and anybody can play it. No, you give this to somebody who plays Uno, they're gonna jump off a bridge. But I like it.
Yeah.
And I find it to be pretty captivating. A lot of scoring, yes, but that goes away. I don't have any big issues with it. It's a solid 8.
All righty, well, there you go. That's Verdant, which I'm still trying to say properly.
You've said it right every
yeah.
time.
I've been thinking very hard about it. Anyway, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Milla Cleghorn.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
Special thanks to our lawn guy who wanted to add theme to this review.
Yeah.